everybody, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where we are going to be trying out the new Nikki Tutorials X Beauty Bay palette. I did get this on Wednesday, so I was playing with it a bit yesterday and I have some thoughts. So if you'd like to see what I think about this palette, please keep watching. Alright guys, for those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Carolyn. Welcome to my channel. This thing that we're doing here. Got this palette on Wednesday, so I ordered it on, I got one of those, I signed up for like the not the pre-sale, but like to find out like an hour before the actual launch about this palette on, was it Monday? I think it was Monday, yeah. And so I ordered it at like 5 o'clock UK time, so that was about an hour ahead of schedule, I think, or something like that. Anyway, so I got it an hour ahead. So in case you're curious, this is obviously what the actual palette looks like. This is what the unit carton looked like. Sorry, you can see my ring light in there. So it was just kind of like a shimmery black, kind of has like a slightly raised textured effect. So it came in this packaging. Other than the palette, there was also a little card inside that gives you the details on how Nikki suggests you should use these. So whether they're best applied with a finger, with a brush, or with either. So that's in there. Also, Beauty Bay was running a promotion for like pop sockets with each of them. So this is the one that I got, which was the dark side pop socket, which was the one that I had wanted. So yay that. I don't know if I'll actually use it, but I might if I get like a new phone case and I need like a new ring thing on the back of it. I have, sorry, on mine I have like this little ring instead, which I find is really good to like hold the phones. Anyway, this is not about pop sockets, okay? This is about this palette. So this is what it looks like. I'm sure you guys have already seen, if you're watching this, probably Nikki's video on this, so you know there is a dark side and a light side and a dark side to this palette. It's not really perfectly distributed that way because there's an odd number of rows, or columns rather. So let me just go ahead and put this up here for you guys so you can see the entire palette. There it is. So more towards this side are kind of pastel. Sorry, I really can't see my thing. Okay. So on this side is more like the pastels and lighter colors, and this side is kind of the darker, more grungy colors. So I've been playing with it a little bit, and I'm going to show you a few looks, but what I wanted to start us off with were some swatches of this palette. So I've seen a lot of people swatching kind of light side and dark side, but I was lazy and I just went ahead and went across in rows like this. So I'm just going to scooch over to the side for a moment. And I'm just going to play the videos. So I swatched the first 10 and then I swatched the second 10. So there's 20 shades obviously in this palette. This is all natural lighting. It's kind of half gray, half sunny here at the moment. So it looks a bit more faded out than I think it does in real life. But you can see there's kind of what we have: Redemption, which is the orange color, Blend and Snap, which is the pink. The first icy shimmery color is called Ivy. The dark purple is called Slasher. 5 a.m. is that first kind of dark brown. Then we have Roxy Catan, which is kind of a pink shimmer. Then we have Blah, which is it looks more electric in the pan, but it's definitely like a pastel yellow. We have Mikai, which is the bright red, which leans more pink once you get it blended out on the eye. Mila, which is just a medium tone brown, and Underground. And Underground is kind of a grungy, shimmery gold kind of color. So those are the first two, or first two rows, sorry. And then here are the second two rows, so the third and the fourth row. It's working in here today, I swear, guys. So the light blue is Plot Twist. Then we have Aura, which is a really pretty kind of corally pink shimmer. Basic Trut, which is a pale bone kind of color. It's not anything particularly special. All In, which is a shimmery gold with a slight kind of, it's not quite a duochrome, but there's a little bit of a color shift in it. Ew, which is this kind of teal green. Pride, which is a shimmery pink with some kind of other fun undertones in it. Zomer, which is like a peach, just a regular old peach matte. Mama Tutorials, which is a blue, kind of an electric blue shimmer. Amsterdam, which is it looks really like a navy blue in the pan, but it kind of came off more like a blue purple on the eye and also in these swatches. And then Mr. Tutorials, which is kind of an antique gold color. So those are the swatches. Let me just go ahead and do just a couple. Let me just do a couple of live swatches on the hands of a couple of the different formulas in here. So for the most part, we have kind of three formulas. You have the matte formula, you have the kind of what I'll call a regular shimmer, and then you have these really soft, almost creamy kind of shimmer formulas. So just as an example, here is Mikai. So this is how it comes off on the hand or just on the finger as you do it. And then this is what it looks like when you actually swatch it. Okay, so it's a little bit, it does take a little bit to build. So if we just go another time up here, then you can see that we can get that really more deep red intensity to it. Then we have something like Mila, which is just that medium kind of brown color. Okay, and that's it down there. And then let's try one of these shimmers. So let's try Aura. I thought that one was really pretty. It's kind of like a peachy orange pink shimmer. And I hope you can see how easy that shimmer went on. It's a really beautiful shimmer formula here in this palette. We'll talk about my opinions and thoughts towards the end once I've kind of shown you everything, but there's that one. And then I think the Mama Tutorials one is a slightly different shimmer formula. It feels more dry and a little bit more kind of crumbly and less creamy, but I think it goes on really beautifully. I actually think this is one of my favorites in this entire palette, is this Mama Tutorials one. I think it's really, really pretty. So there are a couple of different formulas. I think there's a couple of shades that for me, I found not just hard to swatch, but kind of hard to work with a little bit on the eyes. So there's like Redemption, which is supposed to be this bright orange, but it's a bit faded and a bit patchy in places. So that one, Vla, the yellow, there's not a lot of pigment to it, to be honest with you guys. It's a bit weak as far as the color goes. And I think Plot Twist is the same, kind of just, it's a barely there kind of color. Just that little streak of like white almost right there. Nikki did say in her video that she didn't think it swatched well, and I do agree with her there. But I also think it doesn't really particularly work well on the eye either, but we'll get to that in a moment. So that's what the palette looks like. So it's kind of a mix, obviously, of kind of darker, more kind of grungy, sultry tones, and then these brighter, pastel-y kind of colors on the other side. And I think it makes for a really unique color story, a really unique palette. And despite having so many colors, I can really see the looks that you can get out of this. And what I appreciate about that is that it isn't a lot of effort to think, okay, how do I combine these things? Because the colors complement each other pretty well. So I do want to cover I did 4 different looks actually with this. I'm only going to show you 3, but the other one is for the longevity. So I actually wore a look with this palette all day yesterday to get some feel for how these were going to actually last throughout the day. And then the other looks are just kind of show you kind of what you could get out of this palette. So why don't we go ahead and go through the 3 looks that I created, and then we'll talk about the longevity, and then we will talk about kind of what I think about this overall. So we're scooting again, scooting. I'm trying not to make this such a super long video. I tend to make really long videos, and I want this to be a little bit more compact. So the first look, well, it's not the first look, but the first look for these 3 looks here today, I wanted to try what I've been seeing everyone do, which is a bright kind of sunset-y eye look with this palette. And so I went with 3 mattes and then 1 shimmer for this particular look. So just to let you know, with all 3 of these looks, I primed with the Hourglass Veil Primer on the lids, and then for the shimmers, I put down the NYX Glitter Primer in the first instance to make sure that they actually were gonna stay and stick really well. So I started with Mikai to go in the outer corner to make it really dark and sultry, which is what I thought like initially looking at that red was. But it's definitely more of like a bright red and not like a blood red. So it's, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a bright, slightly pink hued red color, which is very pretty. So don't get me wrong, it's a very pretty color. But I think looking at the pan, I hoped it would go a little bit darker, but it doesn't. And I was putting it on and it would go on well, and then as I would start to blend, I noticed that the color does kind of fade a little bit, so you do need to kind of go back and reapply the mattes a couple of times to get the level of color intensity that you want. So you have to kind of build them a little bit. So Mikai was fine, a little bit more on the pinky side than I had envisioned, but it was nice. Then I went in with Redemption, and I think this has to be one of my least favorite colors formulas in this palette. It just really doesn't want to build. It's very, very pale, and I mean, when I was doing this look, I started to think maybe I needed a white base underneath everything to actually get it to like really pop and show up, but I struggle with those type of bases because they'll just crease on me within like an hour or two. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're working with this palette. Then I went in with La to kind of bring out the whole, transition between red, orange, and yellow. And it was okay. It built a little bit better than Redemption, but again, it wasn't one of my favorite colors in this palette. And then I just kind of blended them together a little bit and then kind of went back again a second time with the colors to really try and build up the intensity and make them a bit more vibrant. And then I put on the glitter primer, and I went in with, I'm pretty sure I went in with Roxy Catan, but it may have been Aura. I'm pretty sure it's Roxy Catan, to kind of build that shimmery lid, which I typically like. I wanted something more on the pinky orangey kind of side to match with the sunsetty vibes. Oh, I meant to say I was using the Basic Truc color to kind of blend the upper edges a little bit, and it's like the most basic color in the palette, but it is very useful for blending things out because it has almost no pigment, and it really helps things just to be really soft around the edges. So I think that is actually a really useful shade in this palette. So for the second look, I wanted to go into the darker side of the palette with that color Amsterdam, which is really one of the colors that attracted me to this palette and why I wanted to buy it, other than the shimmers, and one more color, which we'll get to in a minute. So it goes on actually really well, and I know that blues can be a little bit more on the difficult side to kind of get into a formula that's really easy and really workable. So I appreciate that this one was pretty easy to work with. Like the red, it kind of blends away a little bit, so you do have to go back and repack on again to get that really deep intensity of color. I don't think this is a palette where you get that bam, really strong intensity of color immediately. It does take a little bit of building to kind of get to that in pan kind of color. So I went in with Amsterdam, kind of dabbed it on, because with blues you don't want to just go with like strokes like this. You want to actually kind of press it into place first. And then I started to blend it out a bit with Plot Twist. I probably could have just used a white from another palette or Basic Truc from this palette instead than using that, because it didn't really show up very well. It's pretty, but it's really, really faint. I guess it's the only one that I would like naturally go to buff out Amsterdam, but I'm kind of disappointed in that color personally, and it's one of the ones that I really wanted to work because it's something that I was very attracted to. Anyway, I buffed that out with Plot Twist, went back in with Amsterdam, built it up again to make sure that we got that really strong color payoff, that strong intensity of color. Then I did the glitter primer again, and I went in with Mama Tutorials. That shimmer is like amazing. It's so beautiful. It works really well. I cannot wait to like actually wear it for like a full day and see how that wears, because it is so beautiful, and I can think of some other palettes that I could use with that to kind of make some really amazing looks. So those are the first two that I made with this palette, and then let's go show you the eye look that I have on now. So with this one, I wanted to kind of cross boundaries. With both of them, I think I'm kind of crossing between the dark side and the light side of the palette. So the colors are Slasher, Zomer, and Pride. Those are the three main colors on my eye. So I started with Slasher, and I found the same kind of thing that I did with Amsterdam and with Mikai, is that you put it down initially and it looks really strong, but then you start to just gently blend it and it kind of pales out a little bit. So you have to go back in again. So I put Slasher kind of roughly where I wanted it to start with. Then I went pretty heavy with Zomer, which is kind of that peachy shade. And I'm pretty happy with kind of how those two colors complement each other. It makes it more of like a pinky purple kind of eye rather than like a brown purple, which could have been another option to go with. And then I went back into Slasher and kind of built it a little bit more, and then kind of started blending it into the crease a little bit to give the usual shape that I like my eye looks to have. Then again, I went back in with a glitter primer and put Pride on the lid. And again, this is a really, really beautiful shimmer shade. The shimmer shades in this palette are gorgeous. They are really top-notch shimmers. I'm going to reach into this palette for those quite a lot because I think they are absolutely fantastic. So those are the three looks. So let me scooch in back again to the middle. I'm happy with the looks that I created with this. I think there are some issues with the mattes, which they do take a little bit of building, and some of the lighter mattes, Redemption, Vla, and Plot Twist, I think are weak pigmentation wise, and I don't think you're going to get the kind of color payoff that you're intending unless you're going to really pack them on and use a white base. Then I think you could probably get them to work for you. So it's not something that like I'm going to spend a huge amount of time doing, so therefore for me they're probably not going to be colors I'm going to reach for again. I don't want to say it's disappointing because that's how it is, but they're fine. And to be honest, for the price point of this palette, which was £25, I think you are getting a pretty good value with this palette. Now, one thing I did want to bring up is the longevity of these shadows, and I do think this is something important to say just before if you're thinking about buying this or if you've already purchased it. So on yesterday morning, I did this look here. Okay, sorry, wasn't wearing any other makeup, so I look pretty rough, but this is the look I did, which was 5 a.m., Mila, Basic Truth, and Underground. So those are the colors I used. I used the Too Faced Shadow Insurance Primer, which is one of my absolute favorites, and then the NYX Glitter Primer for the shimmer. I had creasing of the shimmer shade after an hour. And then this one here, which hopefully you can see there's like a strip of like white, and that was when I got home at around 5 o'clock. It did progressively get worse through the night, but I was a bit surprised that it actually started creasing so quickly. Let me see how this one's doing. This one, which is Pride, seems to be doing better. So I don't know if it's the Underground shade specifically that has this creasing issue. It does seem to be one of the like softer colors in the palette. It's like really, really soft to put your hand into. It's beautiful. It's a really pretty color, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit more testing to see if the other, like I'm gonna wear this one all day. So I might put a comment down later if this one does crease on me as well quickly. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of that I did experience quite a lot of creasing on the first day of wearing it within the first few hours. And so it may not be anything you have to worry about, but just kind of like put it out there for you guys. Overall thoughts about this palette. I like it, but I don't love it. Now, if you're interested in getting this, I don't think you're going to be like super disappointed because the shimmers make it well worth it to get this palette because they are absolutely fantastic. And some of the deeper colors, Slasher, Amsterdam, 5 a.m. work really well. You just have to build them a little bit, but you do with any shadow, let's be honest with you. It's very rare that you get some that you just like slap on your eye and it's like, whoa, super pigmented. Zomer is really nice. Basic Truth is really nice. You know, those ones are nice. It's just a few of the kind of more pastel-y shades that I felt were a bit lacking in this palette. As I said, for the price point, I think you're getting a pretty good deal. You're getting 20 shades, and the shimmers are just, they're worth more. Like, those are what you would see in a much more expensive palette, in my personal opinion. They're so wet, they're so easy to use on the eye. They are beautiful colors. So obviously it's up to you to decide whether you think this palette is going to be worth it for you. I'm not unhappy that I have it. I'm actually very happy, and I'm happy to support Nikki, of course, because I think she's a lovely person, and I think this is a good palette. It's just not the best ever, but it's also not bad. So I think, like I said, I think you're going to be happy with this if you picked it up. There's just a few colors that just don't really work for me. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you could hit the like button down below. You could subscribe, come hang out with me again. Leave some comments down below. Are you interested in this palette? Have you picked it up already? Are you already playing with it? What's your experience with it? I'm actually really curious to hear if anyone else has this and whether they're enjoying it like I am. I am actually enjoying it quite a lot. I think this look I have today is gorgeous. I love it. I'm very proud of myself. Good job, Carolyn. Yeah, so leave a comment down below. I'd love to chat more with you guys down there. All right, I hope you all have a really lovely day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.